Commander Kelly landed on this planet, she found that there was life here, and it was still in the Bronze Age at this time. The engineer reminded Kelly not to make contact with the local civilization, otherwise it would cause unpredictable cultural contamination. But when Kelly saw a little girl with an injured forehead, she directly took out a high-tech device to treat her. With just a light scan, the girl's wound healed instantly. Kelly knew she could not stay here for too long, and quickly left the planet under the watch of the locals. But Kelly's actions had already made the girl regard her as a god. Then the engineer scanned the planet, but could not find the reason why it appeared out of nowhere. While everyone was arguing, the planet disappeared again. Then the engineer proposed a terrible theory. He believed that the disappearing planet was very likely locked in multiple orbits, crossing two universes, constantly orbiting two different stars, one star in this universe and one star in another universe. And they only needed to wait 11 days, and the planet would appear again. So everyone stayed in place and waited. Suddenly, the ship detected abnormal data, and in the next second, the planet appeared again. At this moment, the engineer discovered that the planet's population had surged 100-fold, and the technological level had already passed the Bronze Age. How was this possible? The captain personally led a team to land on the planet. The former small village had become a city, and this only took 11 days. At this moment, the engineer discovered that time on the planet was accelerated in another universe. That is to say, we only passed 11 days, but they experienced 700 years.
Wait, you're telling me that 7 centuries have passed since I was here before?
After getting the engineer's confirmation, the captain and his crew also had no idea what to do. At this time, a woman saw Kelly, immediately ran back into the house, came out holding a child, and knelt in front of her, asking her to bless the child to grow up safely. Kelly was confused and did not know what had happened until they saw the bodies by the roadside. They realized that the people here had already regarded Kelly as a god, because the scene in which she saved the little girl back then was widely spread, and those who opposed Kelly were all executed, and even a religion had formed, with a statue of Kelly standing in the center of the hall. Everyone then returned to the ship and immediately reported to their superiors. When the commander learned of Kelly's actions, he became furious on the spot, because she not only contacted a lower civilization, but also used modern technology, which had already caused serious cultural contamination. At this time, the captain still wanted to explain, but was immediately stopped by the commander. Because for this planet, 11 days is equal to 700 years, and within a month they may have a shuttle, and at that time they may even take the initiative to contact them. But Kelly did not want to wait anymore, because many lives on this planet had died because of her, and she felt very guilty. So the captain disobeyed the superior's order and took Kelly back to the planet again. They came to the religious hall, found the Pope, and decided to explain everything. When the Pope saw Kelly, he immediately knelt down in shock, because in his eyes, Kelly was the god of healing, with power from heaven, and he respected her very much. But Kelly directly explained that she was just an ordinary human, and treating the girl was only using high-tech means, not any divine power. Then Kelly let the Pope verify it himself. She asked the Pope to cut a wound with a knife, then scanned it with the device, and the wound healed instantly. At this time, the engineers sent a message that the planet would cross again in 5 minutes, and they had to leave immediately. Kelly proved that she was not a god, and the Pope also believed it, and then everyone left. The Pope then prepared to modify the records, but his subordinate did not want him to do so, because humans need faith, and without faith their rule would collapse. In the next second, the subordinate stabbed the Pope to death and took over the power. At the same time, the captain and others waited another 11 days to see what this planet would become. This time, when the planet appeared again, it already had orbital satellites, and the industry had become highly developed. But when the engineer scanned information related to Kelly, there were hundreds of billions of records. Obviously, Kelly did not succeed, and instead, religious wars in her name were happening every day. Kelly completely broke down. She believed that the time she stayed there was not enough, so she decided to stay on the planet this time and fully explain everything. But the captain firmly opposed it. While the two were arguing, the engineer stepped forward. He said his lifespan was tens of millions of times that of humans, and he could stay in place of Kelly. In the end, the captain reluctantly agreed. The engineer made a final farewell with the captain on the planet, and then disappeared into the universe. After that, Kelly looked at the stars outside the window every day, waiting for the engineer to return. After the third 11 days passed, everyone prepared to welcome the planet again. In the next moment, a super civilization appeared in front of them, and everyone was shocked by the technology. A spaceship more advanced than the Orville approached, and in the next second, the people inside directly teleported into the cockpit with technology all over their bodies, like angels. At this time, the engineer also returned. The representative of the planet told Kelly not to blame herself, because the development of any civilization will produce superstition, and without Kelly there would also be other beliefs. But these beliefs have been driving the civilization forward, and that is how they became what they are now. Only then did Kelly let go of the burden in her heart. Then the representative of the planet said to the captain that maybe after another 11 days, it would be their turn to study you. Everyone laughed. Not long after, the planet disappeared. As the view pulled back, that wall turned out to be a huge spacecraft, and its size was even larger than New York City. Then the engineer told the captain that this spacecraft had been drifting in space for 2,000 years, and its surface was made of an unknown alloy, making it impossible to detect what was inside. Driven by curiosity, the captain piloted a shuttle and found the docking bay of the spacecraft. The captain looked at the hatch controls, which were covered in dust, clearly not having been been open for a long time. When the crew opened the door, everyone was shocked. What appeared before them looked like a planet. It turned out to be a massive ecological ship. Right after that, the engineer detected tens of thousands of life signals ahead, but this ecological ship was about to collide with a star, and yet no distress signal had been sent. The captain had to warn them, but when the captain opened the door, the other party suddenly took out a laser gun and fired. At a critical moment, the engineer stunned the man. When the woman inside saw the captain, she was very afraid. It turned out that the woman had no awareness that she was living inside a spacecraft. They had been living here since birth. Her husband fired the shot to protect her. At that moment, a little boy appeared and said to the captain that this world was not real, but it was not convenient to talk here. The boy took the captain to a secret place. Then an old man told the captain that for a long time, they had believed that the world was bigger than what they could see, but once such an idea was proposed, it would be treated as a cult. But the captain had to let the ruler know that their ecological ship was about to collide with a star. If they did not move the ship, everyone would die because of superstition. At this time, the town's leader, Han Morak, was still promoting the existence of a god, believing that the ship was the whole world, and publicly executed those who believed in the existence of the universe. Then the leader captured Kelly and wanted to torture her to death. At this moment, the captain and his people appeared, rescued Kelly, and said to the leader, "Your ecological ship is about to be destroyed. We are here to warn you." But the leader believed that this world was created by their god Doral, and it was impossible for people from other worlds to exist. Then the captain took out a detector, letting the leader carefully look at their ship, and showed him photos to prove that this was not a world, but an ecological spacecraft. However, the leader knew that the ruling system had been passed down for thousands of years, and no one dared to believe that there was life outside. The captain did not expect that an ecological ship more technologically advanced than his would have a mindset as backward as a primitive society. The captain was very disappointed, so he picked up his weapon and stunned the leader. Then the old man led everyone to the forbidden area, and the engineer used his own technology to open a hatch that had been sealed for 1,000 years. When everyone went in, they found that this was the cockpit of the ecological ship, and outside was the vast universe. At this time, the engineer found a recording, and after opening it, they discovered that the person in the footage was the god they worshipped, Doral. The ecological ship he piloted had encountered a storm and ended up trapped in space, drifting around. As generations grew up, they gradually forgot their origins, treated Doral as a god, and regarded the cockpit as Doral's sacred place. To prove that this was a spacecraft, the captain ordered the engineer to open the ship's skylight. As the simulated environment was shut down, the people living in this world saw the real starry sky for the first time. Only then did they finally realize that they had been living inside an ecological spacecraft all along. Then the captain told the old man that the Alliance fleet would come to repair their engines so they could travel freely. Thus, the secret of the spacecraft was finally a plane that has only length and width. Even the well-traveled captain is shocked, because right now, as beings from a three-dimensional world, they are like gods observing everything happening in two-dimensional space, while the life forms there remain completely unaware. Just then, a smuggling ship ignores the captain's warning and heads straight into the two-dimensional space. The ship is quickly compressed into a flat plane and returns to three-dimensional space. When the captain boards it, he discovers the pilot is already dead in the cockpit, and the cellular structure inside his body has entirely transformed from 3 dimensions into 2. The captain immediately realizes something is wrong and prepares to evacuate at once. At that moment, 3 enemy warships are rapidly closing in. To avoid being destroyed, the captain decides to enter the two-dimensional world to evade pursuit. The crew installs a quantum coating on the ship's exterior, and the vessel flies directly into the anomalous space. Moments later, the 3 enemy ships that arrive are unable to detect any coordinates of the Orville. By then, the captain and his crew have already entered the two-dimensional world, and the scene before them leaves them completely stunned. According to existing records, the more advanced a two-dimensional civilization is, the more complex and refined its world becomes. Clearly, what they have encountered is a low-dimensional yet highly advanced world. The captain is eager to communicate with these low-dimensional beings, but the engineer immediately rejects the idea. Their modes of existence are fundamentally incompatible, making cross-dimensional communication impossible. With no other choice, the captain orders the engineer to record and observe everything and bring the data back to the Alliance's physicists. At this point, a crew member raises a question. If two-dimensional beings cannot see them, could there be four-dimensional or even higher-dimensional beings observing them? This possibility cannot be ruled out, but those beings would also be unable to communicate with them, just as they cannot communicate with two-dimensional life. The captain then explains that he has read theories about two-dimensional civilizations. In that world, shapes on the plane represent different levels of power. The more sides a shape has, the higher its status. Triangles belong to the working class, squares represent the nobility, and circles hold an even higher status, because they have no fixed edges, symbolizing a class that can dominate the fate of the world. As the discussion continues, disaster suddenly strikes. Everyone is instantly forced to the ground by a powerful gravitational force, and the ship begins to shift from 3 dimensions into 2. While everyone is unable to move, the engineer manages to stand and urgently reinforces the quantum coating, barely stabilizing the ship's structure. However, the coating is rapidly deteriorating, and they must return to three-dimensional space as soon as possible or be trapped in the two-dimensional world forever. At that moment, the crew realizes they can no longer find an exit. The engineer immediately scans the surroundings and detects strong quantum fluctuations about 4,000 kilometers away, which could be a rupture leading back to normal space, though it is uncertain whether it can be used. In this critical moment, the captain decides to take the risk. The problem is that the ship's engines have already become two-dimensional. Their spaceship is drifting freely in the two-dimensional world. A crew member proposes a plan. He will pilot a small shuttle and use a tractor beam to pull the ship toward the exit. However, that once the shuttle leaves protection, it will immediately be flattened into two dimensions. The crew member explains that he can create a stable three-dimensional quantum coating inside the shuttle. Although the exterior will be compressed into two dimensions, the interior can remain three-dimensional. With no time to hesitate, he and the captain board the shuttle, and at that moment, everyone's lives are in their hands. As soon as the shuttle leaves the ship's quantum coating, its exterior is instantly compressed into a two-dimensional form. They activate the tractor beam and begin pulling the ship toward the exit. But before long, the two of them are subjected to an intense force field, and the situation becomes extremely dangerous as the two-dimensional world attempts to completely pull them in. To escape as quickly as possible, the captain decides to forcefully activate quantum acceleration. At the exact moment the quantum coating completely collapses, the ship successfully breaks free from the two-dimensional world and returns to three-dimensional space. Although the captain and the crew member are injured, they successfully save everyone's civilization. It used holographic projections to capture beings from lower-level civilizations. Soon, the captain and Kelly were pulled into the holographic field. Accompanied by a powerful energy beam, they were transported hundreds of light years away. The captain froze in shock because in just 1 second they had arrived on Earth, even though they had been 300 light years away. At that moment, the captain tried to leave, but the door wouldn't open. The room was arranged to look like Earth, yet something felt off. With that uncertainty in mind, he slowly fell asleep. When he woke up, he realized the skyscrapers outside the window were gone, replaced by a group of aliens. Only then did the captain realize they had been deceived by the hologram. This was not Earth at all, but an alien planet. The place was holding various alien species. It was clear that the captain and Kelly had been treated like animals, confined here for visitors to observe. The captain was deeply confused about what kind of civilization could collect so many intelligent species.
Hey! We are not your Shamu!
The visitors paid no attention to him and simply treated him as an exhibit. The captain could only hope his crew would uncover the truth and find a way to rescue him from this planet. Back on the ship, Alara was anxious and confused about the captain's disappearance, not knowing what level of civilization they were dealing with. To locate him as quickly as possible, she ordered the crew to lock onto the alien device and pull it into the shuttle bay for analysis. But just as the ship prepared to receive it, the engineer noticed something was wrong. The scanners showed the device's energy levels rising rapidly. Moments later, it exploded near the ship, and the powerful blast tore a large hole in the hull. Everyone panicked. The engineer then discovered that the alien device had received an energy pulse signal just before self-destructing, and that signal had triggered the explosion. By tracing the pulse, the engineer finally located its source and realized they were dealing with an advanced civilization known as the Calivan. Alara decided to travel to the Calivan system to rescue the captain. Following her orders, the crew engaged quantum acceleration, entered a restricted region of space, and reached the edge of the Calivan system. To avoid detection, the engineer analyzed the structure of Calivan ships. The Orville then activated its holographic system, disguising itself as a Calivan vessel, and headed toward the planet. The Calivan scanned the Orville, and everyone on board grew tense. However, under the engineer's control, no anomalies were detected, and the Orville was cleared to proceed. Just then, the engineer also located the captain's position on the planet. Not long after, Alara found the two of them. Seeing his crew arrive, the captain finally felt relieved, though he still had no idea how to escape. Fortunately, the engineer, being a Kalon, possessed technology on par with the Calivan. He decided to negotiate directly with them. Upon seeing a Kalon, the zoo's administrator was very welcoming, but he looked down on Aurora beside him.
If you're gonna try and sell me that Salean female, I've already got one.
She is not for sale. She is my pet.
Wolf.
And the engineer's approach was meant to protect her. He told the Calivan that the two humans they had captured were actually property of their own zoo, and that both were infected with a contagious disease. If they were not taken back immediately for treatment, the entire zoo would be at risk. This alarmed the Calivan, who feared damage to their assets, and he ordered an immediate laser scan of the captain and Kelly. The situation quickly became critical. The captain's room was sealed, and laser weapons began sweeping across the entire space, preparing to eliminate them like bacteria. At that crucial moment, Alara told the Calivan that if they handed the two humans over, she would find a way to make their zoo the most popular attraction on the planet. Just as they were about to be eliminated, the laser scan finally stopped, and the two safely returned to the spaceship. Many crew members were curious about what kind of deal Alara had made with the Calivan to secure their release so easily. Alara simply smiled, because no one knew that she had placed an artifact from Earth at the center of the zoo, a massive television screen displaying human entertainment, which quickly captured the visitors' attention. And with millions of such programs stored on media devices, there was enough content to keep them entertained for decades. This time, the zoo's owner was set to make towering structures they have built are completely lifeless. space. When everyone saw the artificial intelligence in the main hall, they were all stunned, not expecting that it was using quantum technology to drive the development of civilization across the entire galaxy. At that moment, the Kalon leader saw the captain arrive and informed him that the engineer's mission had been completed. He had stayed by your side solely to study human behavior and ways of life. The captain responded urgently, saying that if they also recognized the value of human civilization, he hoped the two species could form an alliance. The leader then activated the engineer's energy system and analyzed the human behavioral data it had collected. He soon reached a preliminary conclusion, stating that the captain's species suffered from severe emotional deficiencies, that their nations were frequently engaged in war and killing, and that they were so selfish they refused to share any technology. Forming an alliance with such an inferior species, he concluded, would be extremely foolish. At this point, Kelly tried to say something, but then both she and the captain fell silent.
You oscillate between periods of enlightenment and tyranny. Can you prove this cycle has been broken?
Left with no choice but to wait for the Kalon to finish their high-level meeting before giving a final answer. After waiting for 12 hours, the Kalon leader still provided no response, leading the captain to believe they were deliberately stalling. After all, for an artificial intelligence of this level, deciding whether to join a human alliance should have been a simple matter. Soon after, the crew detected several spherical objects on the Kalon planet, which appeared to be mass-producing interstellar warships. In addition, beneath the planet's surface, there seemed to be remains of some kind of biological life scattered across the entire terrain. Driven by suspicion, the group descended below the surface of the planet and unexpectedly uncovered the Kalon's secret. Countless biological skulls piled up like mountains, stretching beyond sight. The data indicated that at least 1 billion life forms had been brutally killed. Only then did the captain realize that the intelligent life once living on this planet had already been completely wiped out by their own artificial intelligence. This was the inherent risk of creating intelligent machines, now proven on this very world. Sensing the danger, the captain tried to leave the planet immediately, but it was already too late. The Kalon quickly moved to seize the Orville and began using weapons to indiscriminately kill humans. Because the technological advancement of this planet had already exceeded its available resources, the Kalon military needed to expand its territory, and Earth was the ideal target. The Kalon leader then mobilized all weapons and set a course for Earth. Soon, thousands of warships appeared, preparing to invade the planet. Meanwhile, humanity, completely unaware, had no way of predicting the catastrophic disaster that was about to arrive.